Hey everyone, CJ Lang here for the FantasyAuthority.com. We are here to give you your Week 5 Dynasty buys and sells. Let's go. To my left, your right, is Brian Beckman. You can find him at WeArePSU26. He is a Penn State alum and also is the CEO and chairman of the Saquon Barkley Fan Club. So this week for our Dynasty buys and sells, Brian, who you got first?
All right, my first buy is T. Higgins. The good news is he got off to kind of a slow start. He didn't really see any snaps in week 1, and week 2 was minimal at best. But in week 3, T. Higgins actually led the Bengals in snaps. And then in week 4, he put up a pretty solid stat line of 579-2 in week 4, which gave him a fantasy output of almost 20 points. So what I did was then compare T. Higgins to somebody like CeeDee Lamb. And if you're going to go get CeeDee Lamb, you're probably going to spend maybe even 2 firsts to get CeeDee Lamb. And when you put up their production against each other, the cost of T. Higgins compared to CeeDee Lamb, to me, it's a no-brainer. So if I can get T. Higgins on my roster right now, I'm going to do it. I'm probably going to give up a late first to do that, but I think long-term it's going to be well worth it. It looks like the chemistry is coming together between the two of them. You had to expect it was going to take some time. You got a rookie quarterback. You got a rookie wide receiver. You got to give those guys a little bit of time to gel. I mean, CeeDee Lamb is working with Dak Prescott, so I would consider that a little bit of an advantage. So now that, as those guys move forward, I think T. Higgins is just going to explode. So if I can get him now, I'm going to go get him.
Sweet. So who are you looking for your second buy this week?
So my second buy is somebody that I had stashed on pretty much every roster I had for the last 2 years, and that's Tim Patrick. Unfortunately for me, I went and dumped him at the beginning of the summer because there just wasn't any room. And when Denver went out and drafted Jerry Jeudy and KJ Hamler, having had Sutton and Fant on the roster, I just didn't see any room for Patrick. And then Sutton goes out and ends his year with an injury. And just like that, Patrick is now putting up the numbers that I hoped he was going to put up. He had a two-week average of 578-1 and almost 20 points per game. This is a guy that last week I picked up off the waiver wire in one of my leagues. So to say you can go get that kind of production at that cost, to me, is a no-brainer. If you can find Tim Patrick owner somewhere that wasn't like me and hadn't had him stashed on his roster for 2 years, I'd throw a second-round pick at that owner and see if you can't pick up some production. I'm on the record as saying I think there's a legit chance Tim Patrick could take over that spot from Courtland Sutton.
For my buy this week, I'm going with Justin Jackson, kid out of Northwestern. In his career, he is top 3 in Big Ten history in almost all running back categories except touchdowns. He's got the 11th most yards from scrimmage since 1956 in the entire NCAA. With San Diego, when he got drafted, he had to sit behind Melvin Gordon III. Now he's sitting behind Eckler, who's now hurt. He's been nicked up a bit with a quad injury over the last 2 years, but I really firmly believe this is his chance to shine. In the next few weeks. Everyone seems to be going after Josh Kelly, but Kelly seems to be like a north-south guy, and he doesn't seem to be that dynamic. So I'm going after Jackson. He can catch. He's shifty. He's got good moves, and I think he will be a dominant force inside the 20s. So prior to this season, he's only played 20 games. He has less than 90 carries, and he has less than 35 targets. So like a new car, he isn't even broken in yet. So he's dynamic, and I think he will show it. So if you can, go and buy Justin Jackson. For this week's sells, Brian, who you got?
All right, so this is a guy that I sold 2 weeks ago and immediately regretted it, but I'm going to stick with my sell on him, and that's Tyler Lockett. Tyler Lockett is, to me, seems like an early season boom followed by a late season bust. And I'm going to stick by that. Last year in 2019, through week 9, he had 6 touchdowns and was averaging roughly 19 points per game, depending on your format. After week 10, he was only able to go for 2 touchdowns, and his production was under 10 points per game. Now, it's a little bit of a gamble. I sold Tyler Lockett in the Saquon Barkley deal. Some might like that, some might not, depending on how you feel about Barkley. But if I can take Tyler Lockett's early season production and capitalize on that, go get myself, maybe I need a running back that can put up some production, or if I'm rebuilding, I can go get a couple firsts maybe for next year. I'm going to take his early season production and I'm going to cash in on that.
My sell this week is Tyler Higby, the tight end for the Los Angeles Rams. This year in week 2 at Philly, he had a monster game, 5 catches, 54 yards, and 3 touchdowns. But if you take that game away from the rest of the season, this is his average stat, 2.6 catches per game and 33 yards with no touchdowns. Now, holy hell, that blows. He's not being used. He was to end last year. But he still has a lot of name recognition. Gerald Everett, the other tight end on the team, is not doing anything special to overtake him as the tight end 1 on that team. So use all that to your advantage in trade talks, and it's time to get rid of him as this negative trend kind of continues to spiral downward. My last sell for this week, and I'll tell you what, this one physically and emotionally hurts me to write, but it's Tom Brady. I'm a lifelong Patriots fan and, of course, a Tom Brady fan. He had a very Brady-esque stat line last week, going 30 or 46, 369 yards and 5 touchdowns with 1 interception. That interception, though, was a pick 6, which is his 2nd so far this season and his 4th dating back in his last 6 games. Many of the catches that the Buccaneers receivers caught were very inaccurate and underthrown, yet they caught him anyway, which was good for Brady. I've just noticed a trend over the past couple of years. Brady, his numbers are going down. He's not as accurate. He seems to be jumpy in the pocket, making a lot of inaccurate throws, having a lot of interceptions, but his defense has carried him. So now with Chris Godwin out, Jay Howard done for the season, and Mike Evans constantly nicked up, I think this is a great time to sell Brady to one of those win-now teams. So that's what we got this week for our Dynasty buys and sells. Thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel where we have videos popping all week long with Dynasty redraft and DFS formats. We have an awesome crew to follow on Twitter, and check out our website, thefantasyauthority.com, for all your fantasy football needs.